Okay, everyone, welcome to the virtual annual members meeting in 2023. My name is Denny Warren. I want to let you guys know that we are running a little thin. So we have a couple different board members that are not with us. And as many of you know, our general manager has resigned. So he's no longer with us as well. So we are a little thin on the meeting today, so bear with us. And as always with virtual meetings, sometimes there's some hiccups, but yeah, bear with us. So let's go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone and thank you for attending. I'm going to start by explaining a few meeting procedures so that you're aware of them. Throughout the meeting, we'll ask you to use your chat function to communicate with our panelists. So go ahead and hit the mute button so we don't have any overlap of people trying to talk over top of each other, and then use the chat button. So if you could, just go ahead and familiarize yourself with that function. And a few things to note too, all member account holders in attendance today will receive a $5 gift card. We'll notify you via email, and a gift card will be waiting for you at the service desk on Monday. We'll also do random drawings for an additional 10 $25 gift cards, and winners will be notified tomorrow via phone or email. We'll not be doing live drawings for the gift cards due to technical issues. So we'll be notifying you via email or phone. Additionally, there is no quorum. Quorum no longer needs to be met in order to hold our annual members meeting, so we can move straight in to floor nominations. So with floor nominations, our bylaws allow for board candidate nominations from the floor. The bylaws require a motion to open the floor. So if anyone is planning to nominate a candidate from the floor, please say yes in the chat. Identify yourself by name associated with your member account and attest that you are an active member. Again, if you are going to nominate a candidate from the floor, please say yes in the chat. Identify yourself by name associated with your member account and attest that you're an active member. Don't you love virtual meetings? My daughter, please don't do it. She's about to blow off the leaves of our deck. Not today. So is there anybody in motion? No. Okay. So if no members have a candidate to nominate from the floor, then we'll go ahead and move on to the business of the meeting. Let's see here.
You want to give it about 30 more seconds?
Yeah, I'll give it a little bit more time.
Yeah. Maybe a minute. Yeah.
Again, I'll just restate this. If anyone is planning to nominate a candidate from the floor, please say yes in the chat. Identify yourself by name associated with your member account and attest that you are an active member. Okay.
Looks like we had Kenny
Rogers.
Rogers.
Okay. Would you, Kenny Rogers, like to move to accept nominations from the floor? If you would, can you just say yes again in the chat? That'll be perfect. Great. And do we have a second to accept nominations from the floor? If so, please say yes in the chat. Identify yourself by the name associated with your member account and attest that you're an active member. Teresa Wolf said yes. Okay. So Article 5, Section 3 states that a 2/3 vote of the active members present is required to accept nominations from the floor. So Lisa's going to do the numbers, crunch the numbers for us right now, and let us know. She's going to let us know the total members present and let us know what the 2/3 number is needed for the resolution to pass. We're going to give her a minute just to do that.
It looks like the number is gonna be 43.
So 43 members present.
43 members present. According to Zoom, let's see, we have. Sorry, I'm flipping back in between screens. We have 128 registrants.
128. Okay, so we have 128 registrants. 40, did you say 43, Lisa? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 42.6, so I rounded up.
Okay, we'll round up. So therefore, 2/3 number needed for the resolution to pass is 43. So Lisa will now send a poll to vote on whether or not to pass the resolution to accept nominations from the floor. I just want you guys also to know any candidate is subject to a background check in compliance with state law because we sell alcohol, and will be required to sign a statement of confidentiality, a code of conduct, and must be an active member in good standing.
Okay, you guys aren't seeing the poll, are you?
Not yet, no.
Hmm.
You guys are doing great
right, there it
using the,
Yay.
perfect, here it is. Okay. Please go ahead and use this poll here. Need 43 people to accept that in order for it to pass. You guys are doing so good using the chat function. Lisa will let us know as soon as she's able to get those.
As of right now, we have 87% that have participated.
Perfect. Okay, good. So right now we have passed. Okay, so are there any nominations from the floor? So please put the nominee's name in the chat. So go ahead and type in the chat if you have someone you would like to nominate. We'll just give it a couple minutes here so everybody can put the nomination in.
Oh, Denny, do you want me to go ahead and share? I thought when you said perfect, you wanted me to stop it.
Did you say we had 87% of people said they want to?
89% now said yes.
Did we reach the total number that we needed?
Well, some people can abstain if they want to, so I think that's a yes.
We did have some questions come in the chat regarding the amount of people registered versus how many people are on the call. And so we're going by how many people are physically on the call, correct?
Oh, I
And
was
then
going
2/3 of that.
What is 2/3 of people that are on the call?
14. I
Okay,
was doing it by registrants, but yes, 14.
Yeah.
since we don't have to have a quorum, then that's what we need to go off of. 14 is 14 the 2/3 number that we needed.
Yes.
And did we
Alright.
receive that already?
Now you have, yes.
Awesome. Okay. So again, now that it has been passed, again, are there any nominations? If so, please put the nominee's name in the chat function.
I was muted. Once we're completed with this, I'll go over the meeting's agenda. It's really not that long, and we don't have a printout to send you in advance. So it's very straightforward. I'll go over the agenda when we're done with this vote.
If anyone is wanting to be a floor candidate, this is your time to shine. So if we don't hear anything, we'll move on to the next section in the agenda. And we will not have floor nominations, but currently it is open. So if you plan on being a floor candidate, be prepared to introduce yourself and tell us who you are and answer some questions. All right, we'll give it about another minute. And there is a question or statement in the chat. Some of us watching have more than one member.
That's
Randy?
the nature of Zoom, and it's hard for us to to keep track of that. In reality, with the way that we had these Zoom meetings set up, it was almost a one-to-one situation. But yes, there could be 3 members of a household that are all members of the co-op that are all sitting in one room watching this. But you would theoretically need to log into a separate Zoom, and that's just the very nature of these online meetings, unfortunately. So I do apologize about that.
Yeah, next year, the plan is to have an in-person meeting.
Live and direct.
We could put these Zoom meetings to rest.
Oh my
But
gosh.
again, thank you all for being patient. I know this is not the most ideal situation, having a Zoom meeting, but sometimes you do the best with what you have. And we just appreciate you all. Everybody's trying their best. We all care about the co-op. That's evident by you all being in this call. So thank you for loving the co-op, or at least having some tough love for it, because we all want to see us succeed. And let's see, probably about 20 more seconds.
Yeah.
No floor nominations, and we'll move on. We have 3 open spots. There's a question in the chat: how many board member positions are being voted? We have 1 incumbent, and which is Dr. Ben Ozan, and then we have 2 open spots. We have a slate of great candidates, so I hope you all have taken the time to read their candidate statements, and then we'll play their video during this meeting, their candidate video, and then there'll be an opportunity for you all to ask the candidates questions.
Okay, I guess that's about the 20 seconds is up. So if there is not any floor nominations, then we're going to close that and move on to the next line of business here. So I would like to call the 2023 annual members meeting to order. We really appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Like I said earlier, I'm Denny Warren, and I would like to take a moment to introduce our current board members. We have President Randy Wilburn. We have Secretary and Treasurer Leanne Baribeau. Board members are Danielle Dotson, Ben Ozane, Tony Fairman, and on the board but not able to attend because of travel is Joshua Youngblood and Leanne Baribeau. So at this moment, we're going to approve the minutes. So I'm going to have Danielle read the minutes from the 2022 annual members meeting. And then after that, there'll be 5 minutes set aside for any questions you might have.
Can we just real quickly, I just want to give everybody the agenda so they all know what
That's
we're
right.
doing. Yeah. So
Thanks, Randy.
and yeah, no worries. Appreciate you indulging me there. So we're about to go over the minutes of the previous AMM. We'll facilitate questions. Then I will share a quick report. We're going to have an interim GM report. We're going to have a financial report from our interim financial manager. We're going to do candidate introductions and speeches. These have already been pre-recorded, so you'll get to hear directly from those that are running for your board. And then we're going to have there are no floor nominated candidate speeches, so we're going to have candidate Q&A, which will be open to ask any of the candidates any questions that you have. We will not do the drawing for the gift card. That will be taken care of, I think, in the morning. So that will be done, and then we'll adjourn the owners meeting. So it's going to be hopefully pretty pain-free. So we appreciate you coming and joining us today. And Denny, I'll let you take it from there.
Yep, perfect. Daniel, if you could read the minutes from 2022, it'd be great.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Ozark Natural Foods annual members meeting minutes 2022. Members logged in and verified 62 owners. Joshua Youngblood welcomed the owners and explained the process for opening the floor to nominate candidates from the floor. Nominations from the floor. A motion to open the floor for nominations was made by Denny Warren and seconded by Teresa Maurer. Vote to open the floor to nominations passed with 40 ayes. Denny Warren nominated Tony Fairman, and Tony accepted the nomination. There were no other nominations. Jesse Barr moved to close the floor nominations and was seconded by Denny Warren. Motion to close approved. Joshua called the meeting to order at 1:17 p.m. and introduced the current board members. The current board members are Elizabeth Quinn, Vice President, Danielle Dotson, Randy Wilburn, President, Carly Reeves, Secretary Treasurer, Ben Ozan, Leanne Barabo, Denny Warren, and Joshua Youngblood. Minutes. Carly Reeves read the minutes from the 2021 AMM. A motion to approve minutes was made by Elizabeth Quinn and seconded by Sharon Brasco. Minutes were approved with 42 ayes. Business portion of the meeting. President's report. Randy thanked everyone for attending and recognized none of this is possible without our members. Randy reflected on the past year as board president, and the experience has grown him as a person and board member. Randy thanked Mike Anzalone for his hard work and dedication to the store, as well as Heather Artribe, Lisa Garrett, and the entire staff of the co-op, because the staff is what makes the co-op so special. Randy noted the store is dealing with COVID while trying to engage members. The board has also worked to engage members in the community to determine what the community needs. Randy is excited about what the board has worked on the last year and what the future holds and how we can grow the co-op. He challenged the members to consider running for the board in the future and to help grow the future of the co-op. General Manager's report. Mike Anzalone thanked his leadership team for making this meeting possible, as well as the board of directors for all their hard work this year. He reflected on the 2022 at the store and noted the challenges of the grocery industry due to factors like interruptions to the supply chain brought on by COVID, including out-of-stock items, which still hasn't fully recovered. A second factor is labor shortage, and a third is hyperinflation. The co-op has responded to many of these changes, including modernizing the organizational chart and changing some of the day-to-day operations. There will be continued changes to increase efficiency and productivity. Financial report. Finance Manager Daniel Miller played a video for the 2021 financial report. Daniel reported sales of $12.8 million in 2021, and the co-op had over $12 million in assets. Gross margin came in at 35%, and although the 2021 financial report is pending a review by the audit firm, we hope to have a small profit in 2021. Voting procedure. Elizabeth Quinn explained procedures for voting, including online or at the store via computer or ballot box. Board candidate introductions and Q&A. The board candidates were introduced and recorded speeches by Danielle, Denny, and Randy were played. Candidates are Danielle Dotson, Denny Warren, Randy Wilburn, Tony Fairman. Tony Fairman also had time to speak. Owners had the opportunity for questions and answers. Motion to close the meeting was made by Luke Silverson and seconded by Andrew Durdick. Motion carried, and the meeting was adjourned at 2:45 p.m. The ONF business meeting was adjourned at 2:45 p.m. And that,
Way to go, Danielle. Nice
For your
job.
meeting.
Nice job.
yeah, thank you.
Okay,
And
so we're gonna
can I just mention one thing, because they're asking, the annual meeting report is on the website. It has been on the website since we completed it. So we try to put all of our meeting minutes, that information on the website as soon as they are made available, based on the time constraints that we're working with. But that actually is there. And I appreciate Daniel for posting a link there. And if anybody wants to really quickly read the, again, the candidate information for all the candidates that are currently running for the board, all of that is on the first page of the co-op website. So if you want the meeting minutes, from what Danielle just read, it's all the way at the bottom, right at the footer of the first page for the co-op website. So thanks. Sorry about that.
That's great. We're just gonna set aside 5 minutes now. That way you can look through that, and if you have any questions, let us know. And I'm glad Randy's here. He can help facilitate that if there are any questions.
I guess I'll go ahead and address this one question that was already lodged. Teresa Wolf, she couldn't stay, so she just had a previous engagement. She just had a question about the financials, just so that everybody's clear. Our financial documents have been, we had an audit, and this year, for 2020, for this past year, 2022, we had a review. That review is being completed, and we will have it at the end of this month. From myself and the rest of the board, the one challenge that we definitely had in this calendar year, meaning everything leading up to today, was we just had a lot of challenge with our financial reporting. Not that the information wasn't available in a format that we would have liked to have presented it, and that was one of the challenges that we had as a board. And so we've kind of worked through that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But the bottom line is there is no there in terms of any financial issue per se with regard to where the co-op is. We obviously have challenges that we're working through, a lot of which have nothing to do with our finances and have everything to do with the current state of the economy. But with that said, we are working very closely with a interim financial accountant, as well as a CPA who is going through to currently do the review, so that we will have the 2022 numbers. And then moving forward, which I'm just alluding to, is the simple fact that we're just going to have a better mechanism for reporting our financial data. I think to a man and woman and a person on our board, we all want to kind of operate from a open book management style, if you will. The co-op has typically done that anyway, but we just have to get better about getting the information to you in a timely manner. And so specifically based on Teresa's question, which she posted in the chat, and she knows we have a scheduled meeting with her to come in, and anyone theoretically could come in and sit down with our finance manager and go over the finances of the co-op. And obviously there's certain things you're not going to be able to see. You're not going to be able to see salary information, things of that nature, but you will be able to see just the overall numbers about how the co-op is currently running. And so we certainly welcome that. Keeping in mind the simple fact that we still have to run the grocery store. And so it requires resources and people in order to sit down and do that. And so we are actually meeting with Teresa specifically next month to kind of go over and maybe try to answer some questions that she has. And now I know a lot of you, I don't do public math, but Teresa is an accountant. So I understand her desire to want to see our books, but we will be sure to sit down with her and kind of go over those things. But suffice it to say that there were a number of challenges that I can't really get into for why we had delays in getting some of our financial docs out, and some of it was a personnel matter. There were just a number of issues, but we're hopefully moving forward now, and I'll talk more about turning the page today, but that's just to answer that question. Should anybody else have the same question that Teresa had? And just so you know, you're right, as a member, you do have a right to inspect the books. There is a reasonable amount of information that you can expect, obviously. But you know, the bottom line is we want to make that available to you, and we're working on better ways to put those financial documents in a way, in a format that everybody can have access to whenever you want to just read financial documents. I mean, it's not personally my thing, but if it's your thing and you really want to know and you can dive through that, then, you know, we're all for making sure that you have access to that. So.
And Randy, there's just a question there. Could another member join your meeting with Teresa with the financial?
Yeah, if you're a member in good standing, absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, it's yeah. If you want to do that, you're more than welcome to do that. We're not going to have 30 people sit down with our financial manager, because I think it's really more of a one-on-one, maybe two-on-one meeting. I think it's very difficult to put them in a room with like 1,000 people to try to answer all these financial questions. And we will certainly make all the information available from our 2022 financial audit, financial review available as soon as it's available. We've asked our auditor, our CPA to distill it down into a format that we can then also share with the members. So that will be made available. So. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah.
No.
Any other questions?
I'm glad you found the resources, Victoria. They're definitely there. So. Question: leadership has been the biggest issue with the co-op and the board. When you say leadership, what are you specifically referring to? And hasn't been listening to members and employees. I don't know that that's necessarily the case, but if you want to elaborate on your point there, that would be fine. Yeah, we've had a lot of turnover, and I'm going to talk about some of that. We're in the process of embarking upon new leadership. Can't really get into personnel issues with why people leave and for what reason. So we will kind of, you know, we'll have a conversation about where we're going now. So and to be honest with you, right now we're focusing on what the future holds. We can't sit in the back and look at the past, especially as we're moving through new leadership through the co-op. So I don't think it's fair to anyone to go through that. So and let's see, where are the board? The board candidate statements are found on the main page of the website. Wait, unless that's an old question, maybe. So it's all,
Randy, Victoria says, how is that to be shared with the members? Talking about, I believe it's the financials.
You know what, Victoria, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out a way to do it that makes sense. Obviously, you know, we'll figure out a way to present that information, even from an open book management standpoint. There's probably something that we can put even on the website just to kind of give an added glance of where we are financially so that you're aware of that. But again, you know, it really just depends, you know, I mean, so yeah, I think we'll kind of have to figure that out. But trust me when I say this, we are going to figure out a way to get that information, or it might just be sent out via email. And, you know, we may figure out a way to send it out snail mail too for some people, but that's very costly. So we have to be mindful of our the budgetary constraints of trying to inform the membership, and we want to find the most effective way to do that. So yeah, so we'll kind of get into that.
And Randy, you might have seen this, but Pat says, thank you. I too would like to see financials to view current balance sheet, prior year comparison, and current statement of activity. which should be available to all members on a monthly basis. I don't
Yes.
know if there's a question or a statement.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, again, Pat, if you want to come to that meeting, you're welcome to come too. Again, we're going to cap it, but that's 3 people right now. So if you want to come to that meeting, and again, if it's that meeting is at a specific time on the 17th of October, so that would be it might be an option. So, and you can reach out to us and we can give you the particulars about that. So. Is there a process for submitting store improvement recommendations? I believe there is. Is Lisa on? Can you answer that, Lisa?
We may have to circle back to that question.
Okay, yeah,
Do we want to go ahead and move to approve the minutes from last year?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yep. Okay. So what we'll do now is we'll send out a poll to vote on whether or not to approve the minutes from last year's annual members meeting. So Lisa will send this out when you have it come up. Just go and answer the question. Then she will confirm the results of the poll for us.
I guess we need to do the motion first and then a second.
Yep.
So
that's exactly right.
I move to, yeah, I'll make the motion. I make a motion to approve the minutes from AMM of 2022. Do we have a second?
Second.
Great. Now we got the poll.
Now we will send a poll out to vote. There it is.
There we go. Oh, next question. Well, bear with us as we're getting the
She's
poll
working.
ready, y'all. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When I pull up polls, it keeps pulling up the floor nominations one. Let me relaunch and see if that helps.
There. Oh, nope.
No, that's floor nominations. Okay, bear with me and I'm gonna go in the back end and try to figure out what's going on.
I guess in the meantime, while you're getting that, Lisa, Denny or Randy, did you want to address any of the other questions since I interrupted you last time? I think we've addressed most of them. Yeah.
Statements.
Yeah, and just I think Victoria's asking. I'm almost 100% certain that there was communication sent out to the members, and when we say send it out, I know electronically I got information about the candidates that are running for the board, and their statements were available. I think once or twice. I guess those statements were first originally sent out at the end of July or early August, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm almost sure that that would be the case. So, and to get to the question about you're not able to share the reasons for the high turnover. I mean, it's just high turnover. I don't know. There are a million reasons, some personnel related that we really can't discuss. And then others that people just are leaving for what they perceive to be greener pastures, maybe. So, and all of those, I mean, there's a lot of movement and a lot of companies. I mean, the unemployment rate is 2.4% here in Northwest Arkansas. So the bottom line is that people can go and work where they want to work. And that's one of the challenges. So, I mean, that's kind of a leading question, right? Because I mean, again, the insinuation is, oh, well, if we're not paying people enough, then people will leave. That's not always the case. And we're working on that as well. So the bottom line is that people leave jobs. And I've talked to a lot of people that have left the co-op, and some of them had nothing to do with the co-op. So, because I specifically ask people when I run into them, hey, why did you leave, or what happened? People got better jobs. People got newer opportunities. 3 people I talked to were switching careers. They were getting out of the grocery business. So I'm not going to hold their feet to the fire because of that. But yeah, we had a ton of turnover during the pandemic in the last 3 years, an inordinate amount. But if you go to most companies, a lot of companies had a lot of turnover too. So, you know, it's easy to just say, oh, well, there's something wrong systemically with the co-op. every company had those challenges, and there may still be something wrong with the co-op that we're working on right now. So, you know, the long and short of it is that's the only way that I know how to answer that question, as far as that's concerned. So.
Julian Knoll was asking, what's the current average employee wage at the co-op?
I
it
don't have
depends
that
on the position.
information. Yeah, I don't have that information. So, I mean, if you're asking figures for specific amounts, I just don't know that off the top of my head. We can get that information, but I don't know what that is.
I think we're having a glitch with the Zoom as far as getting the poll to come up. So we can do it the old fashioned way. We can,
Type
you
in the
can
chat.
raise your hand or put it in the chat. I believe if you hit the reactions button, you can, if you're on a browser, hit more and reactions, and then you can give it a thumbs up or, you know, an angry face if your answer is no. And do it that way if you all are willing to navigate it in that way. Sorry about the glitch, y'all. The joys of virtual meetings. Again, this will be likely the last one, barring any unforeseen circumstances. So we are voting to approve the minutes, annual meeting minutes from last year. So you can either type in the chat approve or hit the reactions button and give it a thumbs up or an eye or your hands up. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7.
13 so far. 14. I believe 14 was the number that we needed. 15. Lisa, was it again, was the number that we needed 2/3? Was it 14, 16?
I think it was 14. Yeah, it was 14.
Okay, so now we're at 16 as well. Okay, great. So the minutes are approved. We're going to move on to the next section, which is the president's report. And so now Board President Randy Wilburn will give his report.
Okay. First of all, thank you all for coming, and Denny and Danielle, if you can continue to monitor the questions that are coming up, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, man, I can't believe it's been 4 years since I joined this board. A lot has obviously changed. We were meeting in person when I first joined, and now we're here. And hopefully this is the last time that we're here, meeting virtually, and that we can get back to some semblance of normalcy when it comes to meeting here at the co-op and meeting in person, specifically for the annual members meeting. And of course, you guys are always welcome and invited to come to our monthly board meetings, which happen on the 4th Tuesday, unless otherwise notated, at 6:30 p.m. in the back conference room there at the co-op. So, you know, we have some regulars, but there's always room. I'm sure Nancy would be happy to share a seat with somebody else, and Teresa and the others that do come out on a regular basis. We certainly appreciate you guys, you know, holding our feet to the fire, and, you know, obviously providing some encouragement where possible, because this is it. Being a board member is not an easy position. It's actually quite thankless and in some instances. And so the challenge here is that we have to kind of encourage each other to kind of move forward. And this year is a lot different than other years, just for the simple fact that we are coming off of, we're coming out of the pandemic. We're fully coming out of the pandemic. We just lost our general manager, who resigned a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, it's a situation where we now find ourselves at a crossroads in terms of what do we do next as a co-op. And I think there are some tremendous opportunities ahead for us, and I'm really excited about that. And, you know, I first of all, I also want to just say right up front that I want to be I want everyone to hear me when I say this, that I really appreciated getting a chance to know Mike Anzalone. We're still friends, but I mean, many of you have known him much longer than I have, and he put almost 17 years of service into this co-op, and I don't think that that should ever be taken lightly. You know, and I know people have left the co-op in the past for one reason or another. The bottom line is I really appreciate the time and effort that Mike put into being at the co-op and all that he was able to do. And from the time that he took over as general manager, the one thing I can certainly say about Mike was he was definitely a good steward over the resources of the co-op. You know, the bottom line is that I really appreciate the time and effort that he put in. Mike's one of the big reasons why we were able to move to the location at the corner of Lafayette and North College. And you know, on a separate note, I was speaking to another former general manager who said to me, you know, it's ironic, it's exciting, and I cry when I've come into this parking lot and I see us here at this location at the corner of Lafayette and North College, because the bottom line is that, you know, when back in the day, and those of you that have been here for a long time will remember, that used to be a Safeway before it was a Marvin's IGA. And so the bottom line is that it was, you know, for some of the members were, well, one person in particular, former GM, said, you know, we used to come into the parking lot of the Safeway, and we always said, what if this was the co-op? It would be amazing if this could be, you know, eventually one day we could have this building as the co-op. And here we are, it's 2023. We have a building that has won awards, been nominated for awards. The building is beautiful. But, you know, like any business, we have our challenges. And I think right now we're at a place, and I just had a meeting with all of the staff to kind of talk about some of the structural changes that are going to take place. We're at a place where we can really turn the page and try to move forward to the best of our abilities. I mean, because all we can do is deal with what's right in front of us. And so a couple of things that have changed since we last had our AMM. Again, like I said, Mike has left, and we are now in the position of, on the 18th, which is tomorrow, we're going to have an IGM, or an interim general manager, in place here at the co-op for at a minimum 6 months, could be a little bit longer, while we undertake the process of identifying and finding a permanent general manager to take over our great co-op. And so there's a lot of moving pieces. And you know, my goal and the goal of the board is to kind of share with you guys as much as we can about what this process looks like, what it's going to take. And you know, I think we have a great opportunity here for us to really grow our co-op and mold it in the way that we want to see it moving forward, right? Because I have no frame of reference for what it was like for the folks that started it in 72. I don't even remember when there was a door at the back of High Roller Cyclery and some of the other stories that I've heard Mike tell. I have a frame of reference. My only knowledge of the co-op is Evelyn Hills and where we are today. And there are some people that only know where we are today. And so it doesn't mean that we forget about all the stuff that we've done in the past and where we've come from, but the co-op is fundamentally has become a much different store than what it originally started out as. And again, we are a business. We're a for-profit grocery store, and grocery businesses are one of the toughest and most challenging businesses to enter. Most people, when starting a business, don't say, I'm going to start a grocery store, because it's just cutthroat. It's a very demanding. It's thankless, right? Because people expect that everything that they want is going to be available to them at their beck and call whenever they go out and go through those doors and enter that store, whether it's Walmart, Whole Foods, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, and of course the co-op. And so we're at a functional place right now where we're figuring out, what does it look like moving forward? How do we turn the page with some of the challenges that we've experienced specifically in the last 3 years, because the co-op was a challenge. We had economic challenges. We had issues with shortages of supplies. logistics and just delivering. I mean, we still technically to this day are having challenges getting certain things on the shelves the way that we want them to. And that's not necessarily a function of any one individual in the store. You can't look at somebody and say, oh, that's your fault because we can't get this product on the shelves. There's just stuff that we have a hard time getting on the shelves that many years ago we could. Back in the day when the co-op started, bulk foods, it wasn't an item. We could go everywhere. We just had all these bulk, these big bins and bulk items everywhere. And now even bulk foods are a challenge. And so that's one of the things that, you know, we're fully aware of. And we have to figure out, how do we modify what we're doing as a co-op to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to merchandising and marketing, and to put our best foot forward in the community. A couple of other issues that came up, we recently did, and again, this was something that Mike had the foresight to do. Mike said, hey, you know what, I'm going to bring in some expert general managers, some general managers that are in our corridor. So if you think of different corridors, like you got the West Coast, you got the East Coast, but then we have a central corridor. So think like Minnesota on down to the Gulf. Part of our central corridor, we brought in the best general managers, the highest performing co-ops. We brought several of those individuals in to spend 2 days basically with a fine-tooth comb going through everything that the co-op is doing. And the challenge is simply that you know, they found a lot of things that we're doing right and a lot of things that we're doing wrong, and they were able to give us some very clear, sobering advice and guidance about ways that we can turn the corner and we can improve upon where we are currently. We had one general manager basically say to another, "This is a $20 million co-op." Now, we're not a $20 million co-op. Let me be very clear. But we have the potential to be a $20 million co-op. And a lot of that's going to happen with the support of individuals like you that are on this call, that eat, sleep, and drink the co-op, and that take a time out of your busy Sunday schedule to be here with us. And while we might not be a perfect organization, our goal is to take that advice and guidance that we're being given and to figure out ways that we can improve upon it. One of the other pieces of feedback that we got from the GMs that came, we're probably about 8 to 12 months from fundamentally turning the corner and kind of turning things around. And as most of you know, if I could use the analogy of a ship in a harbor, you can't, when that ship gets into the harbor, it just can't easily turn around and go back out to sea. It takes a while to turn a big ship like that around. And so if you think of the co-op in that same vein, it's going to require all of us to be patient with this process as we turn some things around. Stuff is, I'm going to use this, stupidly expensive right now, both out in general, but also in our co-op. I get this because people text me all the time and, you know, they're complaining about cat food and this and that. Fully aware of that. And one of the first things that we're going to do is to get back to the basics of getting back to making sure that we are providing the most cost-effective products that we can put on the shelves, that even if we don't necessarily turn a profit on them, that at least we can move product and get them in the hands of our local consumers so that they can take advantage of those products and they don't feel like they have to go buy 365 at Whole Foods or fill in the blank any other product line at some other grocery store. So there are a lot of opportunities for us to kind of improve upon what we're doing, and I think you're going to notice that in short order. The other thing that we've decided is, and when I say we, the board has talked about it, and just the general consensus was we need to bring in more outside help and guidance, because there are people that have had success in ways that we want to have success at the co-op, and we're going to lean on them for help. We recently did an employee survey. We're about to do a member survey, which you will see very soon. We're going over the fine tuning of that, and we're going to also let our new IGM, Dennis Hanley, weigh in on that when he comes on Monday. But we have a lot of work in front of us. And what I essentially told the staff, and we had an all hands meeting we just have an amazing group of people that work at the co-op, and we've heard all the complaints, and we had a special meeting back in March, and there are just a lot of challenges, and we want to correct all of those. Like when I say all of them, we want to try to address each and every issue that has been brought up in some way, shape, or form. More snail mail out to the members, or at least those that want to get physical paper in the mail. And I know I like paper every now and then, but honestly, I like digital as well. So we want to try to meet the needs of all of our members when it comes to that. We want to make sure that we're doing a better job informing you on what's happening, as opposed to just saying, oh, I never heard about that, or I wasn't aware of that. So we're trying to figure out better channels to utilize to get the word out to people so that everybody understands what's going on. I know people are probably mumbling, well, what about the bulletin board and stuff like that? I don't know. We'll figure that out. We've talked about it. There may be ways for us to do that. Be nice to have a virtual bulletin board and a real one in place. I know I like to look at the one at the library, but that's neither here nor there. We'll figure out how to do that. And more importantly, what I asked this current staff, right? And this is for those that have been asking the questions about the turnover. We acknowledge a turnover. We recognize that it's there. It is a pain point, but again, it's not, turnover is not unique to the co-op. There's a lot of places that are dealing with turnover. I have a lot of business owners and they can't keep good people. And that's the challenge right now. And so, and some of it's due for a variety of reasons, but we're going to work on what can we do better as a co-op. One thing specifically that I told the whole staff is that we're going to move to making sure that we are creating opportunities for people to develop careers at the co-op. And what does that mean? That simply means that we are going to make sure that everybody from the top down has access to training and building up, right? Because again, it's like from a leadership perspective, and I told this to Tanya and Anne Marie and Alicia and to Lisa and several others that are the mainline leaders of the co-op. I said, hey, your goal as a leader is to work yourself out of a job. We're not necessarily doing that right now. Not that anybody's going to get fired, but to work themselves out of a job by training up other people under them so that there's always we have a strong second and third tier of future leaders of the co-op. That's something that I want to see come to pass. The board is in 100% agreement about this. And we actually even have people on staff right now that have experience in instructional design. And so there's going to be a lot of changes. And so what I asked the staff, and I appreciate you indulging me with this long diatribe, is what I asked the staff to do was to work with us to turn the page. We could go back and complain about this or that. I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. And I've asked the board, I've asked all the leadership, I've met with each and every one of them, kneecap to kneecap. I've asked that we need to turn the page, and we want to start with a blank sheet. And I feel like with this interim general manager, with this upcoming search for a permanent general manager, we have a chance to turn the page. And with putting in place some programs for the staff that directly addresses some of the challenges that they have and that they've had, we hope to be able to fully move ourselves forward. It's going to take time, though. And I essentially am asking everyone for patience in this process. Not that it's going to take years, but it's just going to take time. And there's going to be a lot of extra work involved. And so that is one of the things that, that they will do. And, I see a question here. Could employees receive wage increases if they do additional training? We don't want to make it a carrot stick kind of thing, Julia, but absolutely, that they definitely can. And we have some programs like that now, but we're going to have better programs, and we're going to make it abundantly clear. So everyone, even the person that's just starting out at the co-op, has a clear understanding of what their path and trajectory can be. And I want to see higher wages for people too. And we got to figure out how we can do that. So there are a number of things that are on the table, and we want to get to that place where everybody feels, and this is what I said to the staff, I don't want you under your breath talking to people, just kind of half-heartedly telling them that you work at the co-op. I want you to be proud of working at the co-op. I tell people all the time, I'm on the board of the co-op. We got our challenges, but you know, this is one of the few places that you can come that's unique to this area. We are the only food co-op in the state. We support and provide opportunities for so many local farmers and so many local folks to get their wares out. And I've worked with several people that have had their products put on the shelves at the co-op, and it's made a difference for them. And so, you know, I don't think we should lose sight of that and understand what that that was that's an opportunity for us to kind of move forward. So that's, you know, that's kind of where, you know, that's where we are. And again, the biggest thing I think that has happened in the last couple of months, which was that the GM audit that we went through, it was very sobering. And suffice it to say that we are using that audit as the marching orders for Dennis as he comes in. And you're going to hear from him in a second. But Dennis Hanley is no slouch. This individual has had success. He has been involved with 34 turnarounds. And I will say the co-op is a turnaround, right? Because we need to get back to a place where we can really be successful. But Dennis Hanley is a turnaround artist. He has had 34 opportunities to turn a co-op around. Only 4 did not succeed. So I'll take those odds any day. If you can tell me I can bring somebody in that can, you know, understand the heartbeat of what we're all about, and he's going to take his time to really get to know the people. He's already met with the staff. He will physically be boots on the ground sometime later this afternoon, but will be in the co-op. And I'm encouraging all of you to connect with him, but give him his space as well, because he's going to need some time to get some things up and running. But it is, you know, it is definitely something that I really want to encourage you guys to be a part of. And one of the questions was, are the recommendations from the GM audit written out and accessible, or just that information was actually given to the staff, the staff leadership of the co-op about what needs to be done. It's also been shared with Dennis, and I got the Cliff Note version of that. And so I'm basically giving you the Cliff Note version of that GM audit and what happens. So, and yeah, absolutely. The success of the co-op is the responsibility of the board. And so we are certainly trying to make some changes. And I think the first step on those changes will be having this interim general manager come in and help us do what really needs to be done. And again, I'm not going backwards, I'm moving forward. If you want to live in the past, you can be in the past, but we have to move forward. At some point in time, we have to stop looking backwards and look forward to where we're trying to go with this co-op. And that's not a situation where we say, well, we can just totally forget about everything, but you have to kind of think about what the future holds for us and how we can get there. And we can't if we're holding on to the past. And so, you know, my encouragement is simply, let's move forward. And as a group, collectively, the board is in agreement with that. I've talked to the staff. We're all in agreement that this is what we're going to do. Will it be solved by the end of this month? Absolutely not. Will it be solved by the end of December? No, but you will start to see incremental changes that you can point to and say, yeah, I heard Randy talk about that. I heard Danielle or Denny or one of the other board members mention this. I heard the interim general manager, Dennis, mention that, and now they've already put that into place. I just ask for patience as we work on doing that. And, you know, I recognize that we're not going to make everybody happy with some of the decisions that come out. And, you know, the idea here is, and this is, again, I told the staff, there are no sacred cows. If there are things that we've done historically that just don't make sense today in this current economic environment for a grocery store, we're going to figure out how we can modify and change that. But we just have to get better. We've got to improve prepared foods. We've got to get our homestead section improved. We have to get produce, which is the lifeblood of any co-op. We have to improve in that area. So there's just a lot that we can do and that we're going to focus on, so that you will start to notice a difference as you come into the co-op, and you won't under muddled breath say, oh yeah, I'm a member of the co-op. You'll say it with pride, because people will say, oh, I've been to that co-op and those beautiful flowers from Dripping Springs are amazing. I get those for my wife every week. You know, just one example after another, you'll be able to point to and say, that's why I am a part of this co-op. And so I certainly would encourage you to check this out. So yeah, so that's the bottom line.
Awesome. Thanks, Randy. I also wanted to mention too, if for some reason we did skip any questions that you guys have, you can email us. Is it fullboard@ozarknaturalfoodsboard.com? Is that correct, Danielle?
I'll put the address in the chat so y'all can copy it, but it's fullboard@onfboard.com.
Right.
And that will go to every board member.
Awesome. Thanks, Randy. So
Yeah.
now it's actually,
You know what? Hold on 1 second. I noticed there's one question here, and I don't know. I mean, again, it's hard. That's the only thing, folks. You got to understand these meeting chats. It's hard to understand context when you ask these questions. Scott Smith said, I would expect GM and board members to be around on the weekends and get to know those members. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I mean, the bottom line, this is a volunteer position. I have worked my butt off over especially the last several months, and especially going through what we're going through right now. And I would say a lot of us have made ourselves available, and I've never not been accessible to speak to a member if they have a question. Now, if a member doesn't reach out to me, I can't in my head know, oh, so-and-so wants to talk to me, I should reach out to them. I just want to be very clear. And again, I'm apologizing in advance, Scott, if I took that question the wrong way. But, we're doing everything that we can. And if you want to run for the board, we just had this, and we had the opportunity for folks to run. And I've said it over and over again. And I said it last year. Danielle reread it in the minutes. I mean, people aren't raising their hand to run for the board. It is a thankless position. And, it's one that it's a lot of work and effort. And I enjoy this, but I just want to do that. All right. Well, you have a conflict of interest. That's fine. The point is, think about the things that you're asking and don't make assumptions. And I'm not speaking to you, Scott, in general. I'm speaking to everyone. Don't make assumptions that we're just phoning this in or this is what it is. That's the only thing that I do take offense with, because we're putting in a lot of work here and a lot of time and effort. I have 3 kids. I have a wife. I made a commitment to this board. I'm here. I'm doing what I have to do. We're all in that same vein, as are the employees of the co-op. And so I'm asking all of you to have patience with them first, have patience with the senior leadership of the co-op, and have patience with this board as we work to improve some things. And I guarantee you, in the next 12 months, if you don't see anything improve, I'm out the door. I'll say goodbye. I'll resign myself from the board. I have no problem with that. But my goal is to see this thing turned around. I want to be a part of something that is successful, because to me, the co-op is one of the premier jewels of our community. And when people talk about Fayetteville, a lot of times I hear people talk about the co-op. And so we certainly want to do that. So anyway, I'm off my soapbox now. And again, Scott, no harm, no foul, man. I'm just letting you know how I feel, because I don't want people to get it twisted. I don't want there to be any confusion. We're all in this to win it. I'm not in this half-heartedly. So we're gonna get it done. And it may not be exactly the way a lot of people that are either listening to this call or have been long-term members want, or it may not be exactly the route that you would like us to take, but we're going to do it. And, I need your support more than anything else. So I need everybody cheering us on, encouraging us. And certainly if you want to admonish us, do it privately. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Because, it's just, this is a hard job. It's definitely a hard job. And so I would just encourage you to consider that. So anyway.
Randy, real quick, before we move on, there was a question regarding the co-op offering a cost of living wage adjustments. Do you want to, I know that's typically something the general manager would address.
Yeah.
Are you able to address that particular question?
The long and short of it is that, without me getting into specifics, because everybody's going to ask me for a number, we are going to make some wage adjustments. What they are, I don't have an idea as far as what that is, because that's really not my area of expertise. One of the first things that I am asking Dennis to do when he comes here, once he catches his breath, is I want him to look at our pay scale. Where can we improve? How can we get this? How can we make it better? And that's one of the benefits of having somebody from the outside come in and say, you know what? Statistically, here's what we could improve in this area. So I think it's a good thing to have some outside eyes come in. And again, this is a page turner for us, and say, yeah, this is how we can do that. And if we need to figure that out with regard to you know, to how we improve that, we'll do that. And I think that Dennis will be able to help us as far as that's concerned. So.
Awesome.
I think
Thanks,
the
Randy.
biggest thing is just us. We see it, we hear you, we're not ignoring you, we're working on it. So as Randy said, just, I know it's asking for patience, just kind of sounds like we just keep saying that, but some things just take time. But we are aware of a lot of things that owners have brought up, and just figuring out the best way forward and how we
yeah,
do that as a board and be in
right.
compliance, you know, I mean.
Well, there's that. And so, but let me say this, because I mean, Pauline has posted a number of things on here. Just to be clear, you know, we had that special meeting back in March. We have tried to address a number of those issues. Some of those issues are in the process of being addressed. I'll pull out two things. One is we're working, obviously, at all times on the treatment of employees. We are working specifically with vendors and producers to make connections with them. And so these things take time, but we've had regular meetings with a lot of the vendors, face-to-face meetings. It was something that I was encouraging for a while, and I'm glad that we've undertaken it. But again, these are things that we're going to only double down on as we move forward. So I would just ask that you just have some patience in that. And again, the spirit of the co-op, I think it's hard to, you know, it is the, you know, I personally don't, I mean, a business is a business. A co-op is a business. It's a for-profit business. It does have, I guess you could say it has a spirit, but I mean, that might represent itself in different ways to different people. And so I think that, you know, we have to be mindful of that. And I know we don't want to lose the feeling of the co-op, and that's something that I don't want to lose. But to be honest with you, if we can't keep the doors open, then it will just be, we'll be talking about the co-op in past tense. And so my goal is for that to never be the case. I'd like another 50 years. So that's it. So, and I've taken up enough time. I'm sorry. I apologize, Danny and Danielle. Go ahead and resume the conversation.
That's okay, Randy. We're going to move on to the GM report. So obviously, Mike is no longer with us, but we do have a video that Lisa has from Dennis, our new interim general manager. So Lisa, if you could play that video for us, that'd be great.
Not getting any sound on this. Yeah, Lisa, we're not getting any sound from this.
Yeah, no sound.
No sound whatsoever. Just bear with us 1 second. You got to love technology, folks.
Okay, you guys could see the video, but you didn't get any
No,
sound.
no sound. Yeah, it's not
Okay.
playing. Are you hearing it?
I was hearing it. Let me try one more time. Maybe it was because I stayed muted and I didn't realize
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yep.
Well, I don't know that I.
No, it's nothing.
You can't hear that at all?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, that worries me. I have been having some issues on my end with Zoom. It wasn't allowing me to show the or share the second poll. Now I'm getting some feedback on it when I speak.
Try just try to start another video, see if that's working.
Let me stop the screen share and go back. Share screen. Share. Play. Did you hear any of that?
Mm-mm. Nothing.
Nope, nothing.
Audio settings, let's see.
Lisa, do you want to try giving me the screen and then I can try to play it from my side?
Sure, yeah.
We'll see if that'll work. Elizabeth said there's an advanced feature where you can choose to share the video. That might help. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Let's see if this will work. Fingers crossed, everybody. Oh, well, it's not letting me screen share. Y'all have the patience of saints. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Lisa, are you able to enable screen sharing?
I was able to.
Oh, there we go. Got
Okay.
it. I got it to pop up. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's go in here. Y'all get to see my screen. Oh, that's me. Whoops. That was an oldie. Jeez.
Oldie but a goodie.
Oh man. Wasn't looking forward to seeing my face. Emma? Oh, okay. Nope. Hold on, that's the wrong one. Let's see. Lisa, what's it in that same folder?
Actually, Randy sent it to me this morning. Let me see if I can send it to you.
Cool. So if any of y'all need to take a bathroom break, this is a great time. Coffee break, go get you something while we're figuring out these technical issues. Oh, I hear something. Okay, I'm going to email this to myself.
I just sent it over to you, Danielle.
Okay, thanks.
This is a good question. Will the videos be accessible on the website after the meeting today?
Our website currently isn't set up to show any video. But we do have the candidate statements printed off at the front of the store if anybody would like to read them. And they are available on the website as well. Should mention that.
Any luck, Danielle?
I'm having to email it to myself since I'm on a PC.
Will the other ones
Almost
play?
there.
Oh, okay.
Potentially. I did see a suggestion, upload it to YouTube. That is a good idea. Let's see if we
Yeah,
can
that
get
that
this.
might take a while though. That's the only problem with that.
Okay.
Andy, do we want to move on to the
Yeah,
financial
let's
report?
let's do that. Why don't we do that while you try to work out the particulars? And Jason is on, and I'm hoping that Lisa, you can give Jason screen share privileges, and then Jason can share his screen. And just so everybody knows, Jason is our interim finance manager. We did hire a finance manager. She took over for Daniel's role, but Jason filled in when Daniel left, and Jason will be here to kind of help bring oh my gosh, I just said it, Alyssa up to speed. Our new financial manager's name is Alyssa Turner, and Jason is working hard to bring her up to speed, as well as just making sure that we don't lose any steps in the process from an accounting perspective. And Jason is from another co-op. It's called the Merck, just north of us, and he's from one of those co-ops, those successful co-ops that we talked about. So he will go ahead and just share and just provide a financial report for you. So I hope I talked long enough for Lisa to give Jason share privileges.
Yeah, he should be able to share his screen now.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Jason.
Hello. Thank you, Randy. Yeah, my name is Jason Lovell. I'm the Director of Finance for the Merck Co-op in Lawrence, Kansas. I have been serving as the interim finance manager for the last 2 months since Daniel left. And I've been working with Alyssa very closely this last week. I hope you find her as an incredibly talented and knowledgeable finance manager, as I have. And to catch up, as Randy had mentioned earlier, the 2022 financials are still under a review. Alyssa and I have been working with the CPA firm that has been doing that work. And do not be surprised by the delay in this. That is something that has been there is some bit of a shortage of certified public accountants who are willing to do this type of work. So I can share that I also have this year, not the only co-op that has had a little bit of struggle with this. In the interim, until those numbers are provided, I wanted to give the owners a bit of context. These numbers that I'm about to say out loud are still preliminary. In 2022, the co-op had sales of just over $12.5 million. Gross margin was a huge miss, only 33%, which really helped drive the net loss of almost $375,000 for the co-op. However, net assets are still healthy of 11.3 million as of the end of December 2022. What I'm showing here on the screen is a couple some graphs that we have. The first one is to show the sales by quarter. This is, and this information that I'm sharing with you now on screen is through June 30th of this year. So some fairly recent stuff. You'll see that sales are dropping, have dropped, looking at a same-store sales loss, and in conjunction with inflation. So you try to compare this year to last year, we're looking at almost a double-digit sales loss. Customer count is averaging about 1,000 fewer transactions per week. So there is a little bit of a struggle with making sure that we have the revenues that come in so that we can make profit. That second one you see is the margin minus labor for each quarter. So that is a margin, gross margin minus labor as a percentage of sales. A healthy cooperative grocery store is going to have this nearly 15%. As you can see, starting when we all had massive inflation in our lives, in the fourth quarter, you can see that's the co-op kind of a little bit of shell shock. Not a lot of us in this industry were prepared for such a huge loss. We have to remember that everybody knows how much stuff costs at a grocery store, and Ozark, just like my own co-op, did not want to just raise retail prices. We're hoping to do capture some of this margin strategically. You can see as the year, this year has progressed, we have had a lot better success with margin and labor. That drives our profitability. Here we can see that EBITDA, earnings before income. You can see one of my cats in the background. Income before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, and patronage. So it's essentially known as an operating profit before the financial cost of business are taken in. So you can see fourth quarter really brought in the operating loss. But as we have continued to increase as our margin minus labor, as our operations become more profitable, we can see that our earnings are becoming more profitable. While Ozark has had some operational challenges in the last 18 months, I wanted to share that there is some bright notes on the finances. A lot of times it's hard to hear financial ratios without any sort of context. So that's what I wanted to kind of share with this, kind of where we are on our balance sheet ratios with some context. So Ozark has 159 days cash on hand as of June 30th. From an industry, as Randy said, grocery is a challenging business. If we have more than 10 days on hand, that's you're shown as being somewhat healthy. Having this much cash reserves shows that the co-op is in great shape to have, as Randy said, a turnaround and operational changes. So what this cash on hand means is if we stop selling everything, but continue to purchase inventory, pay our vendors, pay our bills, we would be able to continue to operate without a single penny of revenues for 159 days. That is the sign of a very healthy balance sheet. To put that in perspective, the cash on hand was over $1.6 million. So there's sufficient amount of capital on hand with the co-op to be able to take care of and make the investments that are needed in order to be a thriving co-op in Arkansas. The current ratio is the amount of current assets, things that could be liquidated within a year, divided by the number of current liabilities, bills we need to pay within the next 12 months. Anything over 1.25, so having $1.25 in current assets for every dollar in liabilities. Ozark has almost 4 current ratios, which means there's a lot of assets. There's a lot of liquidity, and we can still pay our bills. I want to make sure that that part has been going on since Daniel left, and between Daniel and Alyssa, Ozark has been paying our bills, paying our vendors, paying our paychecks, paying our taxes. Everything has been happening. A lot of what has that I have done to help out the Ozark has been able to do this kind of higher end financial reporting. Our debt to equity is well within means. So debt to equity is the amount of overall money the co-op owes divided by the amount of equity, what we have. So having 0.53, which means that we have a whole lot of ability to, if we need to, can bring on additional debt. I do not believe that's the case because we have so much equity. But what this does is that over the last 50 years, as of now, we are not a heavily leveraged company. So this all means that our ability to continue to stay open is quite good. That next one, debt service coverage ratio. How much are we earning? That's that EBITDA number compared to how much we need to pay our debt that we have upcoming. And again, anything over $1.25 makes our creditors very happy. So by earning at least $1.25 for every dollar that we have in debt, Ozark has an debt service coverage ratio of 1.76, which means our earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, patronage, we earn $1.76 for every dollar we have to pay out in loans payments for the next year. That's fantastic. A lot of creditors also look for $1.15 of that ratio. So we have a fairly healthy balance sheet. And final number is that working capital. Working capital is our current assets subtracted by our current liabilities. So having a working capital of 1.77 million, I'll be honest, at the Merck, ours is not that big. I'm very jealous of this number. So kind of in summary, while there have been some operational hiccups and challenges, we have a very healthy financial outlook. Our balance sheet is in great shape. There is plenty of resources to be able to continue the work that's being done by the staff at Ozarks, by the board at the staff, and by the patronage of the ownership of Ozark in order to have the co-op that you're looking to have. Dennis has a lot of resources available. The board have a lot of resources available. So although we may not be as profitable as we would like, the balance sheet is in great shape. Thank you for your time. And I will hand it over, hopefully, to Lisa so we can hear from Dennis.
Jason, if you want to hand me the screen, I've got it up on my computer. So hopefully I'll be able to play it. And thank you for providing that.
Thank you,
report.
Jason.
Yeah, thanks for being here for us. All right. Let's see. Can y'all see that?
You can see it.
Okay. I'm going to hit play.
Good day. My name is Dennis Hanley.
Can y'all hear that?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm going to start it over and hit play again. Here we go.
3. Good day. My name is Dennis Hanley. I'm going to be your new IGM for Ozark Natural Foods. I'll begin on September 18th, this Monday. I'm very excited to work with the board of directors, the community, and the staff. I'm very excited to see what we can do here. It's really has a history of amazing things, the Ozark Natural Foods. We just want to build on it. If you look at my background, I've been employed in 49 of the 50 U.S. states. I've had 14 international assignments. I think you'll find I have extensive experience and views from around the world. Again, I just want to share with you, people make the difference. They're more important than processes and programs. That's what you're going to get from me. And I had an amazing call with the staff last week. We are ready to roll. So Monday is happening. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right, did everyone hear that?
Yes, nice job.
Okay. Well, we can move on to candidate introduction and speeches. We ready for that, y'all? The moment you've
Yep.
also been waiting for. Okay, so I'm going to explain the voting procedure. So we're about to play our candidate speeches and then we'll do a Q&A, but voting. First, you can vote online starting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. by going to onf.coop and clicking the vote link. We will also have a traditional option of dropping your ballot in the box at the store. Please be sure to include your name and owner number. If during the voting process you need help at any time, we're here to help. As mentioned previously, we will have a drawing for $10, $25 gift cards, but as you all can see, we've had technical issues. Winners will be notified tomorrow via phone or email, so be on the lookout for that. So I'm going to go ahead and start our speeches. We have Ashley Davis, Ben Ozan, Cannon McNair, Jacob Sheetsley, and Nick Carson. So I'm going to hit the share screen button again and get us rolling there. So let's see. Give me a moment.
Danielle, I also want to mention when, after you play the videos, Ben, who is a current board member running again, he's actually out of the country, so he's not able to answer questions today.
Thanks. Okay. Okay. I'm going to hit share screen. First up, we got Ashley. So can y'all see this?
Yes.
My name's Ashley Davis.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Awesome. So let's start it back over. And the floor is Ashley's.
Hi, my name's Ashley Davis, and I'm asking for your vote to serve on the Ozark Natural Foods Board of Directors. I have a master's degree in English composition and rhetoric, and I taught college writing for 17 years. Currently, I'm managing the rental property business that my husband and I own, and I'm a mom to 3 big crazy dogs. Simply put, I want to serve on the ONF board because I love this city and I want to see it thrive. I believe the co-op plays a vital role in that because it not only provides fresh food to the people of Fayetteville and surrounding areas and supports local farmers, but it also serves as a gathering place for the community, a place that fosters a sense of belonging, fellowship, and activism. In short, the co-op makes Northwest Arkansas a better place, and I hope that by serving, I can do my part to ensure that that's cemented well into the future. I bring many necessary skills and qualifications to the board. As you probably know, teaching at any level requires passion, focus, organization, teamwork, and most of all, planning. I excelled in those areas as an instructor, and I will bring those same skills to the board if I'm elected. I'm organized, a good communicator, and a great teammate. I've previously served on 2 other boards, the Corpus Christi Montessori School Board, where I served in the role of secretary, and the NWAC Faculty Senate, where I represented the Communication and Arts Department. In those roles, I gained valuable experience in managing a wide array of nuanced issues that affected the larger institution. Governing required us to take a global view in every task and to consider how our decisions would affect the entire organization. This required an eye for both detail and for the larger picture, creative problem solving, and goal-oriented collaboration. These same skills are what you can expect from me as a member of your board of directors. If elected, I will serve the co-op faithfully and energetically to the best of my ability. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you, Ashley. Next statement. Ben Ozan.
Hey there, it's Dr. Benjamin Ozan, and I've had the honor and privilege of serving on the board of directors for the last 9.5 years. Several of those years I spent as vice president and another several as the board president. And it's been a wild ride. I've had a blast. And I think it's ultra important now more than ever that we continue to have continuity on our board. We're already going to have 2 board of directors that are going to be new this year, and I'd like the opportunity to serve for another term as we're going to be hiring a new general manager. And during my time on the board, I was helpful in hiring our new general manager that we had. And so I think it's ultra important now as we're on the search for a new leader for our cooperative that we have experience on the board to help make that transition for our new leader seamless and successful. So I would love your vote for this year to continue to help serve our cooperative and to serve our community. I also have extensive experience in running a business. I've been in practice for over 12 years. And so I think that will also bring a lot of value to our board as we're working on growing the cooperative business model and spreading that across Northwest Arkansas and around our local community. So thank you for your time. Again, my name is Dr. Ben Ozan, and I would appreciate your vote and another opportunity to serve for another term. Thank you.
All right. Next, we got Cannon.
Hello, and good afternoon. My name is Cannon McNair. I want to start today talking about why I decided to run for the board of directors. And long story short, ONF has witnessed a lot of change, and especially the last couple of years as we navigate the pandemic. And the thing is, we're going to see more change as we go into the future. There's no doubt about that. What I want to do is be here to help lead us and guide us through that. I love ONF, and I want to see us preserve our roots as we go through that change. But I also want to see us prepare for that change and how it takes us into the future, because that's also exciting. We have a lot of work to do. The thing is, we're witnessing a lot of co-ops all across the country having to close their doors. And those who are staying open are having a really difficult time. This is a difficult time in general for business. And as a marketing executive, and the years that I bring from my background, I feel as though I'm a great candidate to help navigate through that change. But for me, it's more than that. I love the co-op, and so does my family. We shop there almost every day. We pick up our son from school, and oftentimes the first question he asks is, can we go to ONF? And not just because it's our food-approved place for him to go, but we also love the culture and community and the closeness that comes behind that. And I want to make sure that we have an ONF that we can all have that feeling with for decades to come. I appreciate your time today, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you so much.
Great. On to Jacob.
Hello, my name is Jacob Sheetsley. I'm running for ONF board to increase community involvement and to operate the business more efficiently. My main goal would be to reduce cost and increase pay and wages for the staff there to create a better, more stabilized system. My background is within the food system for the past 2 decades through Heifer International at Heifer Ranch in Perryville. That's why my wife and I originally moved to Arkansas. I was a nonprofit volunteer and then became a nonprofit employee for the better portion of my young adulthood after college. In college, I was an appropriate technologies major, went on to receive an MBA. Currently, I'm the executive director of Open Avenues, a nonprofit that works with adults with disabilities, providing vocational training and job placement. So I'm pretty aware of the inner workings of boards, of the things that cooperatives and or nonprofits need to meet both socially and economically to succeed. I think there are a lot of opportunities for ONF. I do believe that it would be carrying on the tradition of what has been built there, but adding to with more social engagement and finding ways to save money for those consumers and also turn that back to the employees to create a more stabilized workforce. That's the hardest part with nonprofit work in my mind, is creating a system that both balances the social equity and the financial ability to succeed. A vote for me would be a vote for somebody that has gotten his hands dirty and also has spent a lot of time doing financial things. Thanks. Bye.
All right, we've got one more, Nick Carson. I know you're on here, Nick. I just need to get to the right folder. All right. All right, y'all just bear with me one moment. Stop sharing for just a second. Almost there. There we go. Should be it. All right. Y'all see this?
Yes.
Great.
Hey, everyone.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. All right. The floor is yours, Nick.
Hey, everyone. My name is Nick Carson. I am a Fayetteville native and a proud member of ONF. My family and I have been going there for quite some time, and we've seen it change a lot over the past few years, especially, both for the good. We've seen a lot of growth. We've seen a lot of change. And I know that because of the current economy and everything that's going on in the world, things are just a little bit different than what we're used to. And so the reason I'm running for the ONF board is to bring a different perspective to the board, but also just to the business itself. A lot of my experience comes from retail and low margin business structures. And so I know that the importance of both trying to take care of the customer, the employee, stakeholders in the sense of the farmers, and it's very important to make sure that everyone is taken care of. And this business model is kind of like sacred commerce. You know, it's everybody's important. Without one person, the whole is not complete. And I really want to make sure that ONF is set up for a long time success, but not just as a grocery store. There's lots of other grocery stores that people can go to. ONF is definitely a lot different. It's more community-based, and a co-op sets it apart from the rest. And I want to make sure that it's set up for a lot of success in the future, because I think that creates a lot of value to people, not just getting groceries, but also seeing friendly faces, meeting with friends and family, having a good time, giving back to our farmers and our local community. And I know that it has a lot of potential for a vast amount of growth. And I want to be a part of that. I want to make sure that it continues to grow in a positive direction. And I want to make sure that both the customers and the members and the farmers are all taken care of in the process. So, of course, I hope you vote for me, but I really just hope that you give back to ONF in the best way that you're able to. Thank you so much.
All right, I will stop sharing my screen. And so now I will open the floor to members if you have any questions for the specific candidates in the next 10 minutes. If your question is for a specific candidate, please state that in the chat. Otherwise, we will assume that all candidate should answer the questions. So what questions do we have for our lovely candidates? And if you have a question, feel free to come off mute. If you want to just speak it, so you don't have to text it or put it in the chat.
Is it okay? Are you able to hear me? This is Elizabeth.
Yeah, great, Elizabeth.
Hey, y'all. Thank you for the meeting and the information. It's really filled in some information gaps for me that I've been real interested in, and I just wanted to say that we appreciate all y'all's work. And we know you're volunteers, and it's a lot of work. And I work, and I don't volunteer that much, so. I want to, I just wanted to, I wondered if the candidates that are there, I don't have a particular person to direct this question to, but as I know, like in the agency that I work, there's been such a challenge with the transitions, you know, into kind of this newer time and the challenges that, you know, the group has mentioned, and the board candidates you have alluded, you know, to some of that, but I wonder just if any of the candidates would like to talk about their perspective on that moving into the, you know, kind of the now, as we're looking at a lot of extra stressors in a lot of different, you know, sectors of our society, I think, and in as it relates to the co-op, and where, you know, we hope that it's going to go, like just that kind of I think one of the candidates talked about preserving, you know, some of that relationship with the past, but also really moving it forward. And I, sorry, Matt, it's a long question and I don't know if it makes sense, but I'd be welcome any thoughts about that.
Danielle, do you have a specific way you want us to go about answering?
I'll just jump in and go for it.
All right, cool. I will start since I spoke. I appreciate the question, Elizabeth, and I hope I understand it right. What I took is, you know, like navigating those challenges in a difficult time and the changes in general that we're all seeing. But I will at least speak to my experience that I think one of the biggest challenges or biggest transitions that we're all seeing is consumers and patrons are like operating with their place of choice in a completely different way. I have specific experience. I work in the architecture and engineering field, and some of our clients are some of the biggest in the industry, the blue ones and the big red one as well. And so I get to see it from that perspective, from like the biggest corporate possible. And the way consumers are changing their behaviors has such a huge impact as to how we could respond to them. And I think one of the things that we need to be hyper aware of is understanding what those consumer changes are, and then being able to respond to them in a way that fits their needs. And then kind of quickly, I think the way we do that is to gather as much data as possible on our patrons. It could be through surveys like the one that's about to go out, and it could be others. But I hope that's the question that you're asking there, and that I'm answering it in the way you're looking for.
Yes, thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? So I like what Cannon said here. I have a lot of the same thoughts. You know, a lot of these problems or challenges that we've faced, as like you said, we try to hold on to the past but move into the future, requires a really honestly just a collaborative understanding of what's going on and what we can do, and that definitely is going to require a lot of teamwork, a lot of discussion, a lot of info gathering, interaction with members to try and further grasp not only what we can do as a board, as a co-op, to to help address some of these, but also, you know, just to make sure we don't lose sight of our goals as a co-op and what we want it to be. Sorry, I'm it's Sunday. I've got the Sunday scaries or whatever they call it. To hold on to what we have as roots, you know, so many people have mentioned the co-op, you know, not being the same as it used to be, but we've got to figure out the very nuanced line of preserving some of what made it so unique in the past, but also addressing just the new climate of business. And, you know, like Kenan said, consumer behaviors are not the same. So I really look forward to working with a team to get creative and try to make this work moving forward.
Yeah, and I just wanted to chime in as well, just for a minute. I'm really excited to see the changes that are going to be coming just with our interim general manager and even the survey that's going to be coming out here in a little while. I'm also really excited. I mean, I haven't heard everything from the general managers that have visited us a few weeks ago. I'm excited to see what changes that they could see as a progressive way to adapt to the changes from their perspectives. I think adding new perspectives is helpful, and from an outside perspective is what I'm getting at, not just changing everything, but having an outside perspective of kind of seeing what we want versus what we are desiring can really change things in a positive way for what we're wanting. I really do think that change is coming, kind of like what Randy was mentioning earlier. I see it coming. I see a lot of, sometimes it's a little chaotic when you're building a house, for example. It's really chaotic, and then all of a sudden everything just starts flowing and moving through. And it seems a little chaotic right now, but I think everybody's moving in the right direction. And like Ashley said, it's a joint effort between members, farmers, everybody involved. It's very important that everybody is working together to move forward. And I think a lot of growth is really possible very soon. So.
All right. My name's Jacob. It's nice to meet everyone. And I believe all of these candidates would be great board members. I would echo all of your thoughts. And the only thing I would add is that my approach is more of a define your core values, and then those sort of filter out through your community development model. And I would take more of a community development approach and more of an experiential education slash getting to know the consumers, sort of where they're at and why they're willing to pay the premium. So I think data is great and metrics are great, and I believe in them, and I've utilized them to form my small LLC and then also to understand where our nonprofit is. But I really think the implementation of that data and then how it translates to the consumer is really important and sometimes gets lost. So, and it can be as simple as, you know, bringing back the veggie burrito and having a big gathering to celebrate the history of the veggie burrito or the vegan burrito or whatever burrito people miss so much. Those things that I posted a quick, I don't know how many of you all are on What's Wrong Fayetteville on Facebook, but it's a little ridiculous. I mean, I love it for many reasons, but it is honestly a simple way to feel the pulse of the community. And sometimes we get so lost in numbers, we forget that, oh, well, here, and there is so much passion for the co-op. Passion, though, brings a lot of, we'll say, I don't know, positives and negatives. My background with Heifer International, same way. People loved our organization, still love our organization, loved what we got to do at Heifer Ranch. And it was extremely sad after 30, 40 years almost of work doing experiential education, global education during the pandemic. The powers that be shifted the model away, and we were no longer a public facility. I had to be a part of laying off folks that fed me food when I was first a volunteer, and the organization kept me around for a year. And I continually questioned, why am I here? The whole premise change to being farmer educating and not public educating. And I've always been a community development person, though I have grown my own garden and worked through a CSA and other things. But I feel that, when those changes happen, it takes time for people to accept and understand why they happened, especially when there's a lot of passion. So reaching out into the community in sometimes silly ways, like a Facebook post that's actually not that silly, because you can really see where people are and not get lost in the translation of the data. So sorry, and I'm a bit long-winded. You all need to probably start playing Jeopardy music to get me off of here. So I'll leave. Bye.
Same. Yeah, I happened upon this same discussion on the Facebook group. There were some really interesting points raised that I've seen before, and it's kind of funny. People want to vent, and so you kind of have to take some of it with a grain of salt. But there was also some points made that were, I think, definitely worth exploring, and I'm hoping some of that comes out in the member survey results that we're going to get here soon, because I do think some of them are really worth a look, for what it's worth. I know it came from Facebook, but that doesn't mean it's not real people who are raising serious points, and at least they deserve our attention for a minute.
We had a question in the chat from Derek Lynn. Are you in support of owners having an opportunity to work in exchange for a discount?
I think it's certainly worth a look. I would probably need more information about what you mean exactly by that. What kind of work. But it's an interesting idea for sure.
I love that idea. I'm a firm believer in work exchange, but also fully understand ServSafe and all the metrics that we have to have in place for consumer safety and produce handling. That was something that I was over at Heifer Ranch as well, where serving 25,000 meals a year, all farm raised, is quite the task. So for the hot bar alone side, if that's the type of work, that would probably be a no in my mind. But if it was, hey, we are doing some form of community outreach service project that is out in the community, possibly taking consumers to farms, and you're willing to volunteer to do that or something like that, that's fully different. Of course, with a legally binding waiver that says you won't hold anyone accountable for any silly things that might happen.
I'll go ahead, Nick, then I'll let you wrap us up. But I appreciate the question. And I think, Ashley and Jacob, you guys have had some good answers. It's a difficult question because I don't know if I know the answer, because we typically call those employees or board members who receive those benefits for their time, because it is tricky. But the underlying question I might address, Derek, is learning from other co-ops. The idea that if something like that is happening at other co-ops, I would love to see what those things are and learn from them. I myself am an avid traveler, where my family and I are headed to Oregon tomorrow, and I guarantee we'll stop at least half a dozen co-ops along the way, just because we love that feeling. There's a smell to a co-op, right? Like you walk in the front door and you're like, oh, I landed at a co-op, right? At least a good smell. So I think part of that is learning from what others are doing really well. It could be something like this, and it could be many other things. For example, every time I go to Springfield, I don't drive near Springfield without stopping at Mama Jean's. And so like places like that are staples, and it's because of how they listen to their community, and it could be for reasons like you've questioned, Derek. Thank you.
Yeah, and just really that's all. Everybody's comments were pretty much spot on, from legal to safety and everything like that. But I feel like if somebody had wanted to email the board or management a suggestion, either maybe it's by a trade, whether it's some unique specialty that you have or something that maybe the co-op would be gain use from or value from, exchange for either discount or gift cards or something that could kind of give back in a way that's a little more trade-based, kind of like what Jacob was talking about. So that's just my simple perspective, because everybody kind of hit it right on the head. So
I thought there was another question in the chat, but it has seemed to disappear. So if you had a question in the chat and it's not there, please chime in again. We did have a comment from Victoria Bransford McClendon. I appreciate all the candidates' comments and particularly those new to offering their services for this intensive, important volunteer work. So that's always nice to hear. Thank you, Victoria.
I have a
Yeah.
question, Danielle.
Hey, Pat.
I'd like each of you to share with us, you all seem to be very aware of the challenges that our co-op is facing. And I'm so grateful for the work our board has done to this point in addressing those. We're obviously in a huge transition. What particular skills do you see that you have which will benefit the board function as we move through these transitions, and with the data, with the support of the great interim people we have working? Where do you see yourself fitting best?
I guess I'll start since everyone's quiet. I think my best asset is I'm creative. I can think outside the box and find ways to come up with something that works for everyone, ideally. I managed college students for 17 years, and believe it or not, getting new ideas into their heads is sometimes difficult, but it's often really rewarding when you see that click happen. And it required me to be thinking on my feet all the time for ways that I could address them, in a way that wasn't speaking down, that challenged them to raise their level of thought and to consider how their ideas are contributing to a larger collective. We had to do that as well in faculty meetings. There's a lot of challenges in higher ed, you probably know. So I think I can bring some of that same creativity and perspective to addressing those challenges in the co-op. Sort of, even though they're very different worlds, a lot of the same things apply.
Thanks, Ashley. I'll go ahead. Appreciate the question, Pat. I think I have a variety of skills that help in this moment. I'm currently a brand and marketing executive at a large operation. We have about 400 people. And on a daily basis, and for the last decade, I've helped to navigate that executive team, the board that directs it, and all of the people that we support that work there. And so I kind of work in the limits of the politics of a corporate environment on a daily basis. And it takes a lot of navigation and finagling just to get people bought in and operating in the same direction. And in addition to that brand and marketing background, my actual studies was from business economics from the Walton School of Business here in Fayetteville. So I also offer a strong sense of a business background. And right now we're kind of in that time of understanding the economics of today, which are very, very difficult, especially post-pandemic. And I think that especially is something that I can offer. And then kind of lastly, I spend a lot of time on the vision of the organization that I work at. And I think vision is one of the most important things that we can do today. Because we may be facing challenges today, but those challenges could be rather short term to the overarching outlook of where we're headed as an organization. As Randy said earlier, we may all love the co-op for different reasons. Could be the smell, could be the food, could be whatever it might be, but we're still a for-profit business that has to survive, or none of this work has any meaning if we can't keep the doors open. And some of that, like, culture is important, but at the end of the day, if we can't keep the doors open as a business, we don't get to shop there. None of us do. That would be a very sad day. And so I feel as though that's like down to brass tacks is we need leadership at this time, and we need to be able to navigate these next couple of years. We may be having new leaders come on, an interim GM and hopefully a future GM in the next few months, but that takes a lot of work. And I think in the meantime, we need a lot of strong leadership. And so I think that's what I have best to offer. So thank you so much. Appreciate your question, Pat.
Thank you.
I'll hop on. That's cool. Yeah, thank you for the question, Pat. I appreciate everybody's different perspectives, like that leadership that we do have. From me, it's really come down to more of we need the information from, the general managers that just visited, and then survey, and like that's all really important. That's the data. We need the data. Interpreting that and seeing the big picture has been kind of more of my background as far as on an organizational way. Everybody's has their unique talents, and I want to make sure that what I bring to the table is helping to make sure that something's not getting missed, or that we're too focused on one thing but missing the other pieces. And we need all of that, the teamwork of it from leadership and members too. They have their own perspective that the leadership of the co-op needs. And so that's more my perspective, is just seeing every little piece from a high level to help bring them together. And I think that's very important. Just another critical point to everything.
Yeah.
So my background is community development and experiential education historically. I've always worked for nonprofits, though I've also started and owned my own LLC as well. So I would bring to the board more of a community development centric approach, meaning there's a lot of opportunity within our region, within the food sector, within other areas between the food hub and our producers and our consumers. And ONF to me needs to tap into why do our cooperative members pay for membership and pay a premium? And that why could be a very simple thing. It could be a very complex thing, but that needs to be the main question and focus. To me, I prefer cooperatives due to, the ability to buy bulk and know my farmers and things of that nature. To someone else, it could be something totally different. But to get those folks together so they can communicate that with each other and then feel empowered to go out into the community, as it's been mentioned during this meeting, and be proud of being a member and not feel the other harsh side of that love. Love's a lot harder to share than hate. And so that's a part of our sort of socioeconomic issue right now. And the haves and the have-nots are always going to be rubbing, whether we care for that view or not. And those that shop at the co-op would probably more be on the side of those that want to try to help the have-not area of our region. And that may fall outside of the mission of ONF, but in my mind, sharing sort of those core values and trying to find the fact that we can all move towards a more, community-based focus, meaning we may have events and things that then food is directly given and donated. And I don't know that system yet, but sort of bring that up and raise that up so members can know that, well, my membership isn't just for this, it's actually to raise our community food system. Sorry, I can ramble again. I apologize, but I'll take my comments off the air.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So in the interest of time, we've got one. Nick, sorry, did you answer that one? Or did I? Okay, making sure. There you go. Here I am. We've got, let's do one more question in the interest of everyone's time. Y'all have the patience of saints. Thank you so much. So we've got one from Carol Ann Meehan. She says, there's been a lot of talk of our challenges. On the other hand, NWA is one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the US. There's a lot of new energy arriving and settling here. What are your thoughts about seizing the myriad opportunities related to this? So if y'all could give a quick reply to that.
I can.
And yeah.
Just to be quick. So I love that question because that's on the future, not on our past challenges. And I have loved, I mean, like MWA has grown a lot. Fayetteville has changed. Every town that I've loved for the last 15 years of being here has been changing. But there's also excitement, and there's also excitement in consumer behaviors. I, for one, have seen and have direct experience working with some of the largest retailers in the world, learning how to operate within that change, be it through online grocery pickup, buy online, pickup in store, curbside, online shopping, things of that nature. And I feel as though natural food across the country will have to undergo that sort of change in ecosystem to better survive. I'm not personally one of those people. I want to go in and I want to know every single one of our cashiers directly, and I do have that relationship. But I'm not people, right? People love that, and especially people in NWA. Walmart Plus, just to say it out loud, has a huge impact as to how people shop these days. People would prefer to have groceries delivered to their home. I have never done that, but I appreciate people's ability to do that. And so I say all that to say that is how our future is changing. And if co-ops across the country aren't able to adapt to that, then I think the reality is that Whole Foods and other giants of that nature are going to beat us to it, and people are going to make their decisions accordingly. And so I think that is just one example of how we need to adapt to that sort of excitement and change and new people coming to town. Thanks for the question.
I'll hop in since I'm always last, or almost last, if that's okay. No, it is growing, and changes. The growth of that change has been extreme, and I'm kind of with Cannon as far as I do believe that some things need to adjust a little bit. We have to understand, members need to understand that, while we have all this money and all this stuff, it takes a lot of infrastructure, both with personnel and technology to adapt to those changes. And it also has to be in the best interest of everybody at this, that are staple members. And since we're not a typical grocery store, we don't have to not act like the rest of them, but at the same time, it would be a big shift, and we have to make sure everybody's just okay with that. And I think it comes back to Jacob's point about the mission and the vision of everything is we really need to know what we want to be like in 10 years in a consumeristic standpoint, right? Not just in the economy and everything like that, but like, what do our members really want for us? Do we want that? Can we still grow with the same model we've been in? Do we need to adjust to be able to grow so that we can survive? Like, all of those factors need to be brought up. So while the area is growing, that also means there's a lot of potential for growth. And sometimes, I don't know, this is just a shift I've been noticing myself and others, is maybe more of a shift of kind of getting back to this roots. I think Ken mentioned that earlier of, we are different, and that's kind of a beautiful thing, and we can capitalize on that in a way. So that's just my quick 2 cents, and I appreciate the question.
Yeah, that's a great question. As this area grows so much and as it continues to grow, it's going to bring in, increasing diversity in both the population and the workforce. It's going to change the economy. You've already seen some changes, everything from like, small businesses, and starting to include some corporations as well. And the bigger we get, the more the local economy is going to be extremely diverse. And so I think a goal for the co-op for the future will be to try to make sure that it speaks to everyone, try to provide something for everybody so that it doesn't just feel like a niche, that only certain people shop at, like the co-op type. You kind of want it to be a place where everybody is the co-op type, if that makes sense. But it'll definitely be something that we need to talk about and get creative, work together. That's the only way that it can be accomplished. And you listen to your board members, you listen to your employees, you listen to your community members, your co-op members. It's a huge, big picture thing that we need to make sure we are in tune with all the time.
I agree with everyone's points. To touch a little bit on what Nick mentioned about differentiation, I think that is really where it's at. What are the core differentiation points of the co-op and Whole Foods? We all can see the differentiation between the co-op and, say, Walmart, but the co-op and Whole Foods, that's a common thread. Well, when Whole Foods comes in, co-ops have to shut down. Why do they have to shut down? Is it because that co-op in that area didn't differentiate well enough to have the consumer that shifted and started shopping at Whole Foods understand why that co-op should exist? Did the co-op involve the community enough, get back to the community, get in the community, have the community not just come to them, but go out to the community? I don't know. That would be my approach to really capitalize on the growth. Folks that are moving here for this beautiful place, and they're moving from places that were typically equally beautiful, and they're wanting to do outdoor activities. That we all know this group of consumers that are moving here, and those folks will want a co-op. But it's up to us, I guess, to figure out how we can differentiate ourselves so that we're not just going through these same channels and going, okay, well, we're going to add something like delivery that maybe it's all well and good, or maybe we want to point out the fact that we don't do delivery because of what you touched on, that we want you to come in, we want to meet you in person and have you here in the store, but we do other things to get out into the community other than just delivery. Just some simple ideas. But thank you all for letting me share.
All right, thanks, candidates. I'll before I hand the mic back over to Randy, just a reminder: voting starts tomorrow. You can vote online at onf.coop, and then there'll also be a place for paper ballots in the store. And you can always email your board at fullboard@onfboard.com if you have more questions just about us, the board, the co-op, whatever suits your fancy. Just don't hesitate to reach out to us. So again, thank you all for bearing with us with the technical issues, and next year we'll look forward to an in-person meeting. But thank you again for your patience, and I will hand it back over to Randy so he can close it up.
Okay, Daniel, you want to go ahead and just do the adjournment of the meeting?
All right, let's do it. I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right.
Second. Okay.
And if y'all want to put your mics on for this vote, you're welcome to. All those in favor of adjourning the 2023 virtual annual members meeting, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great.
All right.
All right. Thank
All
you
those
so
opposed?
much. I don't think there's anything opposed. So
All
listen,
right.
thank you, Danielle, for that. I appreciate it. Thank you for everyone. I apologize in the interest of time. We certainly went longer than we thought. Again, I want to encourage you all, if you have questions, I put my email on there, but you can also put fullboard at onfboard.com, I believe is the way that you can reach the full board for Ozark Natural Foods if you want to ask us, and one of us will certainly get back to you. If you want to reach me directly, I said it's Randy at onfboard.com. Just reach out to me, and I look forward to chatting with you guys. Oh, so it's full board. That's right. I'm sorry. So there you go. So I want to thank you guys so much. And I hope you heard it earlier. And I certainly I just want to reiterate it again. Somebody said to me that leadership is a process. It's not a position. And I'm constantly reminded of this. even when going through some of the things that we're going through here at the co-op. And so I thought I would throw that out there. I'm a work in progress, just like all of you guys are. So have patience with us all as we get through this. There's some really great ideas here. Victoria, thank you for sharing your ideas. Thank you for sharing, Teresa, your thoughts about the co-op. And we'll try to answer all of those. But I do want to quickly address that. Dennis will be here in person. He's not going to be fly-by or drive-by interim general manager. He will be boots on the ground. So you will be able to see him. He will be living here in Fayetteville for a season while he helps us to get some things going. So this is not a rent a GM in that fashion. He will physically be here. And Alyssa is our new finance manager. So Jason will work with her in that transitional period. But certainly there are those that are here that are more than happy to answer your questions, in addition to anything that we can answer at the board that we're able to answer. Certainly we'll go ahead and do that. And again, just by virtue of the chat, some of you have some really great ideas. And so we just encourage you to keep them coming, and we will work on this to get through this. And that's all that I have on behalf of all of the board members: Denny Warren, Danielle Dotson, Leanne Baribeau, Dr. Ben Ozan, Joshua Youngblood. I really, really want to say thank you so much. And Tony Fairman, thank you, Tony. Yes, there she is. She's so quiet over there. And Tony Fairman. We have a great board, and we look forward to bringing on some outstanding people. I think Jacob's gonna, if he's on the board, he's gonna definitely take over for my ability to talk long-winded. So we're excited to do that. But no, seriously though, we are really excited to have this many people willing to give of their time and their talents to this great co-op. 36 new people a day are moving to Northwest Arkansas. We have a chance to do something really special with the co-op. And so I hope you all join us in that process. Thank you so much, Randy Wilburn, president of Ozark Natural Foods, the co-op. We are signing off, and we hope you all have an amazing Sunday afternoon. Peace.
Thanks, y'all.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.